Welcome back to the Patrick Reagan Show here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network. You're some kind of wonderful. We're here on News Talk 98.7 WOKI. And this segment, I want to, as they say in Congress, revise and extend my remarks from the last segment just real quickly here.
I was born a poor black child.
Yes, it seems like more and more people are making that very statement. But as I said, this segment, I'd like to start with a question. When did it become against the law or even frowned upon to protect yourself? What is amazing is that we have to pass a law saying it's okay to defend yourself. One of my natural human rights is my right to be at peace in my life. If someone does something to interrupt that peace, then they have to deal with the consequences of doing so. All this discouraging you from standing up for yourself is trying to make you more compliant, making you feel bad or hesitant about standing up for yourself or standing up to authority. That's what this is all really about, trying to neuter people and make them compliant to authority, namely government authority. And notice, government authority doesn't run from aggression. The police don't run away if someone pulls a gun, but you're supposed to run away. The police don't hand over their wallet if someone tries to rob them, but you're supposed to. The police don't stand there while someone steals their property, but you're supposed to. Because no one's life is worth that bike or that lawnmower or whatever. Look, it's the aggressor who has to suffer the consequences for their aggression into someone else's peaceful life. If that involves being killed, then that's the price they pay for that disruption. If they don't want to take the risk that they might be shot and killed over $50 or even $5, then don't try and steal it. This whole business that someone didn't deserve to die over such a small thing, that's bull. If you're the aggressor, then you take the chance on something bad happening. That's the price you pay for interrupting the price of someone else's life or the peace of someone else's life. As I said, it's a natural human right to be at peace and to defend that peace against aggression. You can't legislate a natural right out of existence, even though we try to do it about every day in this country. Again, read the Declaration of Independence. These truths of these rights are self-evident. So obvious that they shouldn't even have to be stated. And again, they're inalienable. I covered that last segment. They can't be separated from you. Even if you don't want them, the government still has to respect them. The rights cannot be taken away from you. So how is it legitimate that a government can say you can't stand your ground and defend yourself? The robber or the person committing the assault or whatever, they're the aggressor. They are the one interrupting the peace of someone's life. And as I just pointed out, they are at the risk of the consequences of doing so. If they don't want to accept those risks, then they don't participate in being the aggressor. It's really that simple. No law degree needed. No debating in Congress. I have a right to peace in my life, and I can defend that peace against aggression however I might need. This whole duty to retreat is BS. And that's what the overall goal is of the government, is to get rid of that, is to make you more compliant. After all, if you have a duty to retreat, then do you really need that gun? You see, it's just one more step to restricting more of your rights, and in this case, really giving them to the aggressor. We shouldn't be having referendums on which rights you get to keep and which ones you don't. That's not the definition of unalienable. You can't vote away my rights. I don't care if the whole country votes affirmative. According to our Constitution, you just can't do it. But, of course, when was that really an impediment to our government? Not in the last century or so. Or, to tell the truth, the ink was hardly dry on the Constitution before you had people trying to undermine it, trying to go around what it said government is allowed to do. This is the problem with listing rights. People tend to think they're limited to those that are listed, but that's wrong. The only entity that is restrained in this country is government. Our individual rights are unlimited to the extent you don't infringe on someone else's rights. The government has no rights. It isn't human. It can't have rights. It only has permissions. We, the people, allow it to do certain things and only those things. If it acts outside those boundaries, then those actions are illegitimate and unenforceable, or they should be anyway. Over this last century, we've seen this steady erosion of our rights in this country, and it seems to be accelerating since the new century started. These property rights, personal rights, they're all under attack. Now they're trying to limit my right to life. If possible, I have to turn around and run instead of defending my life. This is essentially giving away my rights to the aggressor. We're turning the victim into the one that's wrong. So if someone decides to take on the role of aggressor, then you have to immediately take on the role of non-aggressor and try to get away. You aren't allowed to meet aggression with aggression. Our government doesn't operate this way. In fact, oftentimes we're aggressive whether or not a particular country or person has been aggressive against us. We just determine that they might be up to doing something aggressive. So we go ahead and act aggressively towards them beforehand, basing it on the fact that our government says this person was looking to do something. Even if our government is providing the means, egging them on, so to speak. If to take the bait, bam, got us another, quote, terrorist before they could carry out their plan. Never mind it was our plan. The FBI putting the bait out there, practically handing the keys to someone with a van full of explosives. But if they try to take them, if they yield to the temptation, then we grab them and proudly proclaim another victory in the war on terror. We get this argument, see, giving up your rights is good. It's working. In the meantime, the government has a list of some more of your rights that you need to relinquish to further aid this war on terror. It's just a vicious cycle of government removing rights, then doing something to justify the removal of even more rights, then demonstrating how this is protecting you and thus justifying the removal of more and more rights. It becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy until we end up with total government control and the individual has little or no rights left. All of this, by the way, is aided and abetted by our friends working in government, convincing themselves that they're saving the country. They're saving lives with the work they do. But they aren't. They're ultimately bringing about the downfall of our once great country. I've said it on this show before. We're living under a false illusion of freedom and liberty. If our founders could see what passes for that today, they would declare all-out war on our government. You know, after all, the King of England wasn't doing 100th of what our government's doing to us, and that was enough to bring about a revolution. But anyway, we're already up on the last break here on the Patrick Riggins Show, and boy, this show's just flying by. When we get back, we'll talk about, we'll try to talk a little bit about how we can get back on the road to fixing all this mess that we've been discussing this hour here on the Patrick Riggins Show and the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.